And joining us now, it's Ben Milam, Multimedia Journalist, SuperTalk Mississippi News.
Happy Friday, Gerard.
What's up, man? It's a little chilly out there, Ben.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's that kind of cuts to your bones, you know. Even when you're inside, you take off your jacket, you're still a little cold.
I tell you what, I saw you last night at the governor's mansion for the Christmas reception. It's customary for the governor to hold one for the media. That would be us.
That's right.
Man, that walk from the vehicle to the mansion.
Oh, and I tell you, afterwards, I'm what you call directionally challenged, and after the Christmas party, I was kind of wandering around looking for my car, and my brain started to work less and less the longer I looked. And thankfully, I eventually found it and made it home. But it was scary there for a second and very cold.
That wind was brutal coming down the street there.
Yeah, if it was an outdoor party, I probably wouldn't have gone.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
I hear you. All right, so the first thing, Ben, give us the latest on the Supreme Court race. A lot of questions of interest on that. I know you've been tracking this morning. You and I just talked. What's the latest?
Yeah, well, we have kind of been staring at the results and watching them kind of slowly trickle in, mostly today, really. I mean, we're here 10 days after the runoff election day last Tuesday, and today is the last day you can certify the official result. And so we do expect this race to be called officially today, and it really could be any minute. We have been watching it, especially this morning. Results, we're getting updates every 15-ish minutes or so. 99% of the votes have been counted in this race. And, of course, a big reason, the primary reason I would say that this has gone so long is that the margin was so close that for it to be called, they had to wait on absentee and affidavit ballots to roll in and be certified. Of course, in Mississippi, one of the few states where if your absentee ballot is postmarked 5 days or by Election Day, on Election Day, it can be counted up to 5 days after received, up until 5 days after Election Day. And then you had the Thanksgiving holiday. These poll workers that were working this election specifically in the Central District had Thursday and Friday off because of Thanksgiving. And so there's another little delay thrown in there. And we didn't have any votes counted and reported, I believe, until yesterday. So Monday through Wednesday of this week, we didn't have anything. So it's been slow, and again, that was them waiting on these final ballots to come in of absentee and affidavit. But given that we have gotten these updates this morning especially, and they're starting to be regular, we're 99% now and feel like it's probably less than 1% left to be counted, even though it's still a slim margin, a little less than 1,500 is the advantage for Jennifer Braining over incumbent Justice Jim Kitchens. Feel pretty confident that it's going to be called very soon. I would guess within the next hour or two. And, hey, maybe we'll get it during this segment. We'll see. But, I mean, it's going to be – we knew it was going to be a close race, but it really looks like, if you had to put money on one of these two candidates to win with the 1,500-ish lead for Jennifer Braining and so few votes left to count, kind of looks like she's going to come away with this thing, even though it's not been officially called.
Well, she's up 1,500, and we got
you just do the math.
12 or 1,300 remaining.
Exactly, right? Yeah, which is why we're kind of just waiting for that check mark, right, the official call from the Associated Press, which we go by and which the majority of outlets across the state and country go by. And so we're waiting until that official call to call this race, but that does seem to be the case that Jennifer Braining is going to come away with this.
Okay. And it could be inside 1,000.
It could. It sure
the
could.
Margin.
Yeah. I mean, with, in the early going of last Tuesday watching this thing, you had – there are counties for both that are overwhelmingly, they're going to overwhelmingly carry those counties. Yeah. And you get certain counties reported: Hinds County, Jim Kitchens; Rankin County, Jennifer Braining; Neshoba County, obviously, for Jennifer Braining. You would get these counties report all at once, and the result would flip, and it would look like one has kind of run away with it. And then another county reports, and they flip, and it stayed neck and neck the whole way and almost completely split. And so I think it would not be out of the realm of possibility to have this be within 1,000 votes.
That's incredible. Out of 130,000.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think 250,000 around that voted in the general election, right?
Yeah, which is a really strong turnout. You look back to 2016 or 2020 and some of these judicial races or even just kind of down ballot races in a presidential year. You're typically going to have 10-20% of the turnout you had in the general election in a runoff, and you've had almost 50% of what you had in the presidential election in a very heavily voted presidential election too. And so I think that is indicative of A, how important this race is, but B, how much coverage this has gotten. It's kind of creeped into the spotlight a little bit in a quieter statewide election year, and we're certainly watching it, and I think we'll have a call soon.
I think it's fair to say that this district that spreads across the central part of Mississippi, east to west, and then sort of goes north and south.
Yeah,
looks like a T on its side, if you will. That it's bright purple, shall we say? It's very polarized, incredible. That's why it's so close.
Yeah, it is, and a big part of that is you have these densely populated areas where you don't have that in the northern and southern districts. At least as pronounced.
That's right.
In this district, and those populated areas are very polarized. So that's why it's been so interesting to watch, and it's been so closely contested.
Speaking of right here in central Mississippi, the capital city of Jackson has just crossed a high water mark. Tell us about that.
Yeah, an unfortunate high water mark. This is I'll preface this by saying there's a lot of information. I would point people to SuperTalk.fm to read this full story. But the basic information is that Jackson has crossed 100 total murders investigated in 2024, and that is specifically investigated by the Jackson Police Department. There have been 6 more murders investigated by Capitol Police, and we never got a confirmation on it, but believe there's 1, maybe 2 investigated by Mississippi Bureau of Investigation. But the official count is 106 if you include those Capitol Police numbers. And this is, I think there was some encouragement, and I think there are some good things as well if you really dig into this, because Jackson has one of, if not the highest clearance rates in the entire country. It's 81%, which is remarkable. And that measures the amount of murder investigations that result in a conviction. And so that's a really, really, really important number to look at in terms of combating these homicides and these homicide totals. But it is disconcerting, and that's what Chief Joseph Wade of JPD said. That's what Chief Bo Luckey of Capitol Police said. Anytime you cross this mark, it is really, really disappointed. That makes 5 straight years now for the city of Jackson. And back-to-back years in 2022 and 2023, Jackson had the highest per capita murder rate in the entire country. 4 major cities of over 120,000 in population. And right now, Jackson is on pace to retain that unfortunate moniker. And so you start asking the question of what can be done, what needs to be done. Is there a clear, tangible solution to really fight this? So that's a big part of what we kind of break down in the article and what we talked about with Chief Wade and Chief Luckey of, a lot of both of them and a lot of law enforcement people will kind of point to a greater police force, a heavier police presence as kind of the number one thing that needs to happen. But both of these departments and, Mississippi in general is the poorest state in the union. Resources can be hard to come by, especially in law enforcement. And, that is one of the good things, I think, points of momentum for JPD especially. They have grown their police force from 221 to 264. And I think you also have to note within the context of this full picture that you had in 2021, you had 160 murders, which was just remarkable. And that has decreased. I think that bears mentioning, but it's still over 100 and is still obviously a major issue and perhaps the primary issue in the city of Jackson.
I know you got some other news we probably ought to share. If you can hang around through the break, we'll get to that.
Sure thing.
We got Ben Milam, multimedia journalist, SuperTalk Mississippi News, in the Element Well studio. We're coming right back. Stay. Gary Wright, I can see him performing the tune now on American Bandstand. As I recall, back in the 70s, he had on a shiny top and bottoms that were kind of military looking, with the puffy shoulders and the epaulets on the shoulders there with the gold braid hanging down. He passed away not so long ago, I think. Gary Wright did, a couple of years ago or so. That's kind of the tune he's known for.
Well, September of 2023.
Okay. A little over a year ago. Ben Milam, multimedia journalist, SuperTalk Mississippi News, is in the studio talking to us. All right, so Ben, what else we got? You're tracking lots of news. Our news department's been pretty dang busy. The Yazoo flood pumps. We were in discussion earlier in the week on that.
Yeah, Caleb Sailors did a really, really great job breaking this down again on SuperTalk.fm. This is not something that I was privy to, and I would imagine a lot of people are not aware of this unless you are, in that triangle area in the Delta, the Yazoo backwater area as it's officially designated. But one big step has kind of come to fruition in this, and just, I guess, before that, a little context. This is obviously or maybe not obviously, this is a huge problem area for flooding and has been for a century plus. And in 1941, the federal government authorized a project to protect this South Delta area of Mississippi from flooding, approving these, basically a general apparatus structure that would move this floodwater into other places and soften the blow when there is flooding in this area. 83 years later,
wow.
Gerard, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers issued its final environmental impact statement for this backwater study area, the Yazoo backwater
How
study
many years?
area.
Say that again.
83 years later. It has been a long-standing, doesn't quite cover it. It has been, we're going on a century here, and it's kind of been a back and forth thing. There's been a lot of pushback from environmental activists and proponents who say that this project and these pumps specifically would really hurt the environment. But you look back even just 5 years ago, the major flood that overwhelmed close to 500,000 acres of land. It killed the agricultural industry in that area, destroyed hundreds of homes, more than $800 million in damages, and there were obviously human health risks that went along with that. And the proponents of this project would probably say, well, that sounds like environmental damage to me if we don't fix this.
Right.
And so this new study by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers basically approved this project, saying that it would be beneficial in certain areas and at a certain elevation for these floodwaters. And, this is a very comprehensive study. And, again, a lot of information in this. I would encourage people to go read the full story if you're interested. But I think some further backstory that is important in this. In 2008, federal officials ruled that the pump project posed a grave threat to the environment, right? That was kind of the first big pushback to this. But in 2021, in Donald Trump's first term in office as the president, the federal government reversed course on that and approved this project. But then in, pardon me, that would have been his first term was not 2021. That would have been in 2016, 2017. In 2021, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, restored that 2008 ruling. And so that's part of why this has been an 83-year-long process, and, hopefully will conclude soon. But it's gone back and forth between the EPA and those that are for this floodwater project. And it is, you've got Mississippi senators and state elected officials like Cindy Hyde-Smith and Roger Wicker who are very pro pump, I guess you could say, in getting this project done. And you would assume a lot of people in the Delta are as well, because this, directly affects the agriculture industry in Mississippi. That's obviously one of the hotbeds of agriculture in the state of Mississippi, is the Delta, and specifically that area. And this is a huge problem. It's been a huge problem for a long time. And I think people that are for this are encouraged by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers basically putting a stamp of approval on this, and are hoping that it finally comes to a conclusion and they actually install these things and start to mitigate these flood risks very soon.
Man,
before we get to the 100-year mark. I mean, it really is wild how long it's taken to resolve this.
That's incredible. That's been going on that long.
It is. Yeah.
All right. What about Jackson Dart?
Yeah, that's right. This was last week, and this is. I was talking to Caleb Sailors this morning in our newsroom, and I think a lot of people, probably maybe 99 out of 100 people, if they were to pick a Connerly Trophy winner, which goes to Mississippi's top college football player, probably would have picked Jackson Dart before a game was even played in 2024. And to no one's surprise, Jackson Dart won that trophy last weekend. He leads the SEC in passing with almost 4,000 total yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He became the all-time passing leader in Ole Miss history, the winningest quarterback in Ole Miss history. I mean, you can go down the long, long list of achievements and superlatives for Jackson Dart, and that a lot of that has been in 2024, which has obviously been a really successful season for Ole Miss. Culminates in a Connerly Trophy for Jackson Dart, and got another game left to play in the bowl game. We don't know where that is yet for the Ole Miss Rebels, but I'd say that's well-deserved, Gerard. Jackson Dart, I think, clearly one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah. The bowls are to be announced this Sunday, right?
That's correct. Yeah, after we have Championship Saturday tomorrow, where you'll have the conference championships, and then you'll start seeing bowl selections, and you'll see the college football playoff field as well. I know some Ole Miss people are still tuned into that a little bit, maybe not quite as confidently as they were a couple of weeks ago, but they'll be watching Championship Saturday, because there's some games that certainly will inform those CFP rankings in the final field for the first 12-team college football playoff on Sunday. So we'll hear all about it. 30,
so a big investment coming to
That's right.
Tupelo.
Yeah, another big investment in the state of Mississippi. You know, we myself and Caleb and Kelly have been on here talking about a lot of economic development success in the state of Mississippi. And the latest is one of the largest manufacturers in the world. Swiss manufacturing firm Lieber broke ground yesterday in Tupelo in the Lee County Business Park to break ground on their new facility, their first location in Mississippi, a manufacturing and distribution plant up there in northeast Mississippi. It is the first step of it, at least, a $176 million project creating, at minimum, 180 jobs by 2026. And in terms of expansions and possible progressions in that project, the facility could be up to around $240 million, creating up to 342 jobs specifically in that site. And that could certainly lead to further facilities in the state of Mississippi. So this is a huge deal that again just kind of follows the established theme in the last couple of years of a lot of really high-powered, high-level international companies coming and developing in Mississippi and kind of putting roots down in the Magnolia State, which is a huge deal. There's a lot of momentum in this area for the state of Mississippi, and it's just kind of continues to roll.
Word's getting out. It's a great place to do business,
That's
and
right.
I agree. This just is another notch in the stock there of a big-time investment coming to the Magnolia State.
Well, it's been all over the state, too. It hasn't been just one region or area. This obviously being a northeast Mississippi, but you have the Amazon facility in central Mississippi. You have the plant, the battery plant in Marshall County. We've had stuff in South Mississippi and on the coast, and it's just all over the place. And like you said, the word's getting out. people are starting to put boots on the ground on Mississippi and invest in this state. And I think the secret's, I think it's out at this point. And when you get that momentum, it just starts to roll, and it starts to compound. And I think that's what we're seeing. It's
a situation where success begets additional success. And
that's
I think
right.
people say, well, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us.
That's right.
So we're making waves. We're getting on folks' radar. It's good stuff. Appreciate it, Ben. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Gerard. Always enjoy it.
We're coming right back in the Element Well studio. Dr. Dan Edney, the state health officer, joins us at 12:05.